Let's start with some deathcore, shall we? Within the Ruins. Man, they have had a hell of a time within the past couple of years, haven't they? While on tour with Suicide Silence back in 2015, they were involved in a serious bus accident that damn near came close to killing them and destroying all their gear in the process. But thankfully the band was able to set up a GoFundMe page to help in replacing all their lost equipment, and were able to pick themselves back up just in time to release their 5th album, Halfway Human, back in March. And I can sum up my general thoughts on this album in one sentence. This is the album that Suicide Silence's latest should have been. Man, this is the kind of vicious, intense, and blisteringly played deathcore that makes me love the genre so much. Tim Gergen's got a howl that can rip your spine out and beat you over the head with it. And oh dear Christ, the guitar work here. Joe Cacci is a riff master. The little flourishes he litters throughout the tracks and the crazy aggressive way he'll slam along to the breakdowns. This is the kind of ear candy that makes you want to spin these tracks over and over and over again. It's the kind of stuff that makes aspiring core guitarists really want to step up their game. It's good shit. I mean, seriously, the effects of hanging around Suicide Silence do seem to have rubbed off on these guys a bit. Just, you know, a shame it didn't rub off on the guys themselves. And Kevin Drummer McGill... Wait, really, is that what he's called? Oh, come on. Hammers out some absolutely ferocious blast beats and double bass work. Even if his nickname game is lame. Come on, really? One thing that kinda stood out here was the use of clean vocals in addition to all the shouting and screaming. It's not terribly intrusive, but on the rarest occasion, Tim and new addition to the band, Paolo Galling, will pepper just the teensiest bit of clean vocals over a chorus or interjected into the occasional verse here and there. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first album they've ever tried to pull this off, and yeah, I'd say they do it pretty well. Better than others I can think of off the top of my head. Man, guys, this was a hell of a deathcore thrasher. I make so many allusions to Suicide Silence, but yeah, this album genuinely does sound like all the elements that were missing from the self-titled, plus some unique and engaging flourishes of their own. This is an impressive outing from these guys, especially given the shit they've had to deal with recently. It's nice to see they've picked themselves up so effectively. And if you need something to wash the taste out of that album out of your mouth, yeah, I found the one to do it. Halfway Human gets 4.5 centaurs out of 5. Truth be told, I've kind of shot myself in the foot for holding off on this review for so long. I dropped hints about my opinion on this thing here and there, so I guess all the element of surprise is lost. So how about I just up and say it? The new Neck Deep is pretty damn good. Really damn good, in fact. The pop-punk resurgence is getting close to full force at this stage, and these guys are certainly one of the bands at the vanguard of it. And again, this is another stellar pop-punk act from Great Britain. What is up with that? Seriously, I don't remember a ton of British acts coming from the first wave. Are y'all just playing a really protracted game of catch-up here? Well, regardless, Peace and the Panic is a pretty goddamn good release. Ben Barlow's definitely got one of those voices that is really, really good for pop-punk. If not much else, Neck Deep is one of those pop-punk acts that does go high energy a lot, but they aren't afraid to break out the acoustics and ballads and lighter cell phone raising shit from time to time. But Barlow's got the pipes to handle any situation the song may call for, and I was particularly impressed by Danny Washington's drums. Good drum work is the foundation of any good pop-punk act, and Washington fills the songs with lots of nice rolls and tom work to keep things punchy and exciting. The dude's chops are pretty well highlighted here. I really dug a lot of the lyrical themes here too. As bleak as they were, this album really tended to lean on the less optimistic side of things, both on a personal level and, in tracks like Happy Judgment Day and In Bloom, more of a nuclear level. Let's just say, apart from looking absolutely gorgeous, the cover art serves as a very succinct summation of the album's mood and themes. But it does so in a way that never feels like whiny or pretentious. It isn't exactly Vonnegut or anything, but for pop punk it clearly gets the job done. Honestly, yeah, this album is a hell of a third outing from a band that are quickly becoming big players in this scene. I was overall very, very impressed. This album would honestly have a crack at my top of the year list if it wasn't for all the competition. Yeah, again, this album does have the quote problem that other acts such as It Is and Grayscale have had this year, in that it isn't bad, not at all. But man, there's just so much competition this year, it's hard to stand out amongst all the other stellar stuff. Did I like this album? Hell yeah, but I wouldn't say it's as good as, say, McCafferty's latest or the Gospel Youth's debut, but I will say that it does stand strong and proud as a great representation of modern pop punk. I still enjoyed it a lot, even if this isn't exactly my favorite pop punk release of the year. Hey, if your thirst for great pop punk is somehow still not slaked, then this album needs to be in your collection, for sure. The Peace and the Panic gets 4 pieces out of 5 panics. You know, I recently found out that after 5 years of doing this, someone or some group of people finally made me a TV Tropes page. Of course, whoever did that, thank you. You did a pretty good job at summing things up and making me not appear like the total jackass I actually am. Appreciate it. But B, one trope that it turns out I do fall pretty well under is called the no pronunciation guide trope, which, you know, is understandable why I would fall into that. Yeah, but I mean, come on, look at this. Put yourself in my shoes here. This industry can get cray-cray. And this band's album here isn't going to do anything to dissuade that trope. Divisi? You know, I'm tempted to just save myself time and pull out another one of my tropes and just call this thing Andy. But a lot like Birds was another one of those bands I literally had no background with when stepping into it. No idea what I was walking into here. But a lot like Birds, the music here turned out to be lofty, soaring, and elegant. So I guess the name is a bad pun? Oh, boo! Boo! Oh, shame on you. Nah, but seriously, this band, oh, it's hard to compare them to anything else. They've really got their own thing going on here. I guess they sort of remind me of the softer side of Circa Survive or a band like Let Live. Oh man, rest in peace to that one. Like, it's heavy music, but it's got a big focus on atmosphere and color. Vocalist Corey Lockwood has a beautifully clean register, and the band doesn't need to focus heavy on the distortion and crunch in order to crank up their intensity. Instead, they rely mostly on Matt Coates' thick, deep, and deliciously intricate bass work to help push the melodies further forward, and proficiently excellent and varied drum work from Joseph Arrington really helps add punch where the guitars don't necessarily. It's a really interesting formula. It's beautifully crisp, airy, and invigorating. It's one of those albums you can listen to, close your eyes, and practically see the rich, colorful painting they're trying to create in your mind. It's gorgeous, and the thing that surprises me the most about this album, they were able to create this beautiful, atmospheric, intoxicating music without the assistance of keyboards or synths. Or at least without abusing the keyboards, like a lot of other bands in this particular style tend to do. There is the occasional small synth line or bit of piano accentuation or sample, like here and there, but when it's used very sparingly. This album actually creates its sense of atmosphere with the more traditional rock instrumentation setup, which is like something I really dug, big time. A lot of the main melody hooks, where a synth would be used usually, are instead being filled out by some very gorgeously played and intelligently affected guitar work. Some brilliant combinations of chorus, delay, reverb, and melody pedals allow the band to use guitar work where another similar sounding band would have tagged in the Casio. It gives the album's sound a much richer, a much more earthy, much less artificial feeling sound. It's a beautiful, head in the clouds, kind of chilled out rock vibe to wind down to when you're wound up, and it's got some interesting approaches in how it creates its blissful vibe. If you're looking for something spaced out, trippy, but still with the right amount of edge and heaviness to keep you awake when you're lucid. Yeah, this is one you should not miss out. I was impressed. Andy gets 4.5 Andys out of Andy. 5. God damn it, TV Tropes. Oh, god damn it. I got a ton of requests for this one, like a ton, but it was never Patreon requested for the longest time, so I honest to god thought I was in the clear when this album came and went earlier in the year, and most people just kind of forgot this album existed and didn't think to fire it my way. 4 more measly months and I could have dodged this bullet like the ACA dodges dismantling, but then literally like 2 weeks ago, boom, Patreon request. Son of a bitch, god damn it, fuck. Can you tell that I didn't want to review this one? No, I didn't. Do you know why I didn't want to review this one? Because, yes, people, I did listen to this back when it dropped, a few times actually, and I've listened to it a few more times now that it's been Patreon requested, and it's just okay. It's fine, it's kinda alright, I guess, whatever. But apparently, that's not fucking good enough, is it? Because every other fucking person on the goddamn planet just seems to be like, jeez, oh, daddy, I'm running out of cummies to give you. Jesus, what the fucking hell? What am I not clued in on here? Is this some kind of Fahrenheit 451 in 1984 scenario? Why am I the only person on the planet who isn't cumming themselves inside out over this stupid album?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Look, I don't get it, people. Like, this is the thing we're all losing our nuggets over? Why this? What the hell does this thing do that's so fucking special? Look, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate it. It has its moments. Hell, it opens pretty strong. Satellite, Frequency, Die For You, they're pretty good at setting you up what you're in for. And I won't say the band isn't unique. They have a sort of interesting, kinda dorky, but in a charming way, sci-fi feel going on. It's nice for what it is. I wasn't having the worst time ever with this album or anything. It's got its strengths, but people, I also saw a lot of weaknesses in this thing, and for some reason, nobody else seems to want to notice. What the fuck? For one thing, the heavy over-reliance on samples, digital effects, and buzzy as fuck keyboard work just... Well, like I said, I liked it at first, but man, this thing got tiresome as fuck after a while. It's definitely got that huge, bombastic feeling that guys like Bring Me the Horizon pull off, and guys like Falling in Reverse attempt, but they don't mix up their sound all that much. The insane amount of overproduction and the crazy noisy feel of all the electronica-based elements just drowns out a lot of the instrumentation, and it makes the songs and soundscapes just kinda bleed together. It's a formula that's unique and all their own. I wouldn't say there are too many bands that sound like them, but they just don't do much with their particular style of sound. Look, by the halfway point of this album, these songs started to sound really samey to me, and the amount of auto-tune they pump into their lead singer's voice... Oh, look, I know that's the motif they're going for, I really do, but it was too much. It was distracting. This is one of those albums where the production really gets in the way of the music. And to be honest, once you've gotten halfway through this thing, you've heard more or less all the tricks it has up its sleeve. Maybe I would be a little kinder to this album if it were more digestible, but fuck, this thing is an hour and 10 minutes. I know this is supposed to be a mammoth, sweeping, huge concept album, but guys, look, I don't care if you wrote the most orgasmically insightful drama this side of Orson Welles' sweaty man flaps. If the music around it isn't engaging, I couldn't give two fucks. Guys, I'm sorry, it's not terrible, but I've heard better. Like the whole heady sci-fi rock thing. Enter Shikari's new album kicks this thing's ass up and down the street. Have you heard that yet? Chrysalis also does this way better. Northlane does this better, in my opinion. Hell, bands like Haken and Pain of Salvation do this way, way better. Hell, the band I just got done talking about even does this better. Guys! Ugh. Look, if you're liking this album, don't let me piss all over your biscuit, okay? I promise I'm not trying to take your fun away from you, but I have given this thing several chances, across a long period of time, no less, and... no, man, I ain't impressed. I'm sorry, crucify me if that makes you feel better, but after you're done, be sure to carve this above my headstone. I heard better. Vessels gets 3 hype trains out of 5. Oh god, speaking of hype trains, yeah, this was another band I got dozens of requests for and people screaming at me about how legit it's supposed to be, man, oh my god. But let me just rip the band-aid off really quickly for this one. I wasn't a fan of this album either. But with Starset, I at least understand why it has the appeal it does. Hey, it's got a great marketing campaign behind it. They're all over the charts, the publications, the radio, I assume. I mean, look, even if I don't necessarily sympathize, I at least get why everyone's panties are soaked for Starset. Okay, I understand it. For Repose, oh, the only reason I could have possibly gotten so many requests for this is because Jared Dines is in it. Yeah, Jared Dines, you may have heard of him. He's one of those million-subbed YouTubers that does... I don't know how to describe it. YouTuber shit? But he's more like metal-centric YouTuber shit. He tends to focus on the heavier side of music with his videos. And yeah, he does actually appear to have legitimate chops as a musician. I mean, when the dude talks music and when he plays and such, he does genuinely seem to know his shit. Can't say I'm a big fan of his channel or anything, though. By all accounts, he seems like a decent enough guy, but it's just not my thing, guys. I'm sorry. He's getting precisely 0 brownie points from me on this review, so just take that in mind as we move along. I mean, besides, with Repose, the comma's in there, so I'm gonna say it, he's on drums here. Like, most of his YouTube-related stuff is mostly related to guitars, bass, or vocal, or shovel. Guys, do you see why this isn't my thing? And frankly, I don't know, man. I ain't got much to say about his drumming on this album. Is he bad? Not really. I mean, he holds the rhythm together, but God knows he doesn't do much else here. It's really just kind of your basic-ass, metalcore-ish sounding drum work. You've heard this before in a million other places. Nothing too flashy, but nothing too distinctly awful or anything. It's serviceable. And man, serviceable is a way better name for this band than Repose. Actually, any name would have been better than Repose. The Jared Dines corn dog and blowjob experience would have been a better name than Repose. But no. This album is just serviceable. Serviceable is the best thing you could use to describe this album. It's serviceable with a capital S-E-R-V-I-C. Oh my god, I'm so bored. I barely have anything to say. It's so middle of the road. The drums are efficient, if not particularly effective. The guitars do sing a little bit here and there, but not in any way that was particularly memorable. And this vocalist... he's a little yelpy for my tastes, but again, he's far from the worst I've ever heard, so whatever. Like, this is another album I've been listening to for literally months to try and get it to stick to me, and my god, it refuses to. It's blasé, it's typical, it leaves 0 impression on me. Guys, to me, this thing is not that great. Not nearly as great as some people like to hype it up, but it's also not that bad. It's not good in any way that's even slightly memorable, but it's also not flawed in any way that's particularly excruciating or fun to talk about. This album is the slight mysterious itch you get on the back of your neck or your shoulder that you immediately forget about once you've scratched it. It's an album I've listened to at least 6 times by now, and I couldn't name or hum you a single track from it. And those are the hardest fucking albums to write anything about. This thing is a plain flavored carton of yogurt sitting amongst dozens of other plain flavored cartons of yogurt with almost no way to discern it from any of the other plain flavored cartons of yogurt. Except this one has a celebrity's face on it, so that'll get some people to buy it, I guess. Repose gets 2.5 plain flavored cartons of yogurt out of 5. Body count! Hey, now here's an interesting case study. While Ice-T is known best probably as a hip-hop artist and or an actor, Le'Veon SVUT, he's also got legit cred as a metal artist. People kind of forget about body count sometimes, or people like to write them off as what I would call one controversy wonders, cop killer and all. But Body Count has always been a project that T has poured a lot of heart and soul into. Hell, T's put out more Body Count records in the past 11 years than hip-hop albums. And it certainly can't be denied that T loves his metal. Hell, he flat out tells it to us directly in spoken word. Though T, look, I love you, bud, but it's raining blood, not raining in blood. Look, dude, no matter how much cred you got, you're not too gangsta for a motherfucking proofreader. And I will not deny for a second that T's got a love and an understanding for what makes metal appealing and what makes it work so goddamn well on a visceral level, but look, real talk, Body Count isn't really that good of a band. This is just going to be one of those episodes, isn't it? Again, I don't hate Body Count. I'm just saying there's some things they do very well and some that they don't. What they do very well is lyrics and shredding. T knows how to capture grittiness, darkness, pure fucking evil in some of his lyrics. Stuff like All Love Is Lost, Here I Go Again, and Bloodlust really capture that horrifyingly grim nature of death metal and gangster rap. But also tracks like Civil War, No Lives Matter, and Black Hoodie show that T can write about social issues with just as much skill and intensity. And I gotta give props to Ernie C. Dude can ignite a motherfucking lick when he wants to. And I'll say all the guest spots on this album do a terrific job in providing their own signature style to things. Dave Mustaine, Max Cavalera, Randy Blythe, they all do a splendid job on their respective tracks, and they contribute a lot of power and oomph to the album overall. They really help sell this thing. But that having been said, yeah, look, there are things Body Count just doesn't do very well, and look, as much as I like Ice-T as a lyricist, he is not the strongest metal singer in the world. I'm sorry, he isn't. On the Slayer medley especially, this really sticks out. He literally can't keep up on this song. He's off tempo a lot of the times, and you can literally hear him just scurrying as fast as he can to try to catch up. T doesn't really shout or scream or sing his vocals. He more is just speaking very loudly at you. Again, that's a style that works perfect for hip-hop. Metal, not so much. And the rest of the band, they're serviceable enough, but they don't give Ernie a great foundation to work off of. Was this album something I'd spin every day? Not really, but man, I still gotta give it up to Body Count. They've still got what makes them good. They're just as intense and forceful today as they were all the way back in '92. It's got flaws for sure, but Ice-T and company don't really have to prove anything to anybody at this stage. They've paid their dues, and regardless of what you think, you gotta give T props for earning his stripes across 2 genres. Man, that is not easy to do. Just ask Bo Jackson. Bloodlust gets 3 dun-duns out of 5. Nadine Shaw. Now this was a bit of a strange request, at least for someone like me to get. Honestly, this thing almost feels out of my jurisdiction. I mean, that hasn't stopped me in the past, and God knows I do love me some good female singer-songwriters when I can find them. I adore stuff from the likes of Tegan and Sarah, Slater-Kinney, Courage My Love, etc., but I'm also into the more adult contemporary stuff like Liz Phair, Juliana Hatfield, Amy Mann, etc., and I'd say Nadine Shaw fits under that general umbrella. The one thing I would emphasize on Holiday Destination is just how tightly composed this music is. It's minimalistic, but not in the hollow feeling way of, say, Philip Glass's more notorious work, nor is it the more sloppy, flying by the seat of your pants minimalism of something like Diet Sig. The instrumentation and song construction here is way more nuanced, way more deliberate in its minimalism. It's meant to firmly establish a darker, seedier tone, and man, it's all played, sung, and executed so well, it absolutely nails everything it's going for. This is an album I'd point to as an example of heavy minimalism done exceptionally well. This is not an easy tightrope to walk, people. God knows when you're doing this, you can fall right off into boring and or pretentious when you do that. But Holiday Destination proves it can be done right. And Nadine is a really talented singer and songwriter. She has an absolutely intoxicating alto voice. She's a low singing lady, but man, her unique style of vibrato and pitch perfect delivery has her lyrics coming off as smoky and seductive, while also being dangerous and biting. She's almost like a female Nick Cave in certain ways, and yeah, I'll bet that sentence got some of you excited. Yeah, believe me, it is as awesome as it sounds. Her lyrics are really goddamn great here too, succinct and straight to the point while maintaining a very deliberate sense of poetic structure. Again, like the instrumentation, this is an aspect of her music that probably looks simplistic on the surface, but scratch away a few of those layers and you'll understand the real genius of its implementation. This album is very pointed and political, more political than a lot of her other work tends to be, but hey, these days, how the hell can you even help it? Man, songs like 2016, Out of the Way, Yes Men, and Evil just really get you to feel the sting of all the evil shit that's going on in the world right now, but also stuff like Mother Fighter and Jolly Sailor towards the end do chime in to help remind you of how strong we can be, and that we can make it through, yes, even all of this. Man, I wasn't aware of Nadine's work before this request, but I am so glad I've been introduced. I know given the title of the show and everything, most of you probably don't come to my channel looking for these kind of recommendations. This isn't my usual wheelhouse, but this is music in the vein of PJ Harvey, Fiona Apple, maybe even the slightest traces of Imogen Heap, only stripped way down and made way more jazzy. If you've got even a passing interest in any of those artists, then I've got another artist you need to add to your list. Holiday Destination gets 4.5 yes men out of 5. Okay, happy time is over. Back to my miserable place. Iced Earth is one of those bands I keep hearing about all the time. They're that band. You know, that band that is way better than people give them credit for. Oh man, this band is so legit, and they get no real love, dude. Everyone just writes them off as an Iron Maiden knockoff. There's so much more, dude, you don't even know. And you know me, I'm a guy that usually loves to root for the underdog, but with Iced Earth, no, I don't see it. Being a big Maiden fan, this was a band that got recommended to me very early in their career, and yeah, this band never sounded that legit. If anything, they were getting more love than they deserved, and it totally sounds like a lesser Maiden. But apparently, according to my friend and big Iced Earth apologist, Johnny, hey, you might remember him from the Mad Sounds podcast, neither here nor there, I jumped ship right as the band was supposedly getting good. Apparently, they've been able to make some pretty great jams despite having a rotating lineup of musicians that could fill a fucking nursing home. Seriously, these guys have had more drummers than Spinal Tap. No, really. And one of their best albums being a concept record entirely about Spawn? For real? The edgelord 90s comic book character? Man, talk about turning shit into gold on that one. But speaking as someone who's pretty much only heard their early stuff, to jump straight into this album, yeah, you'd be forgiven for thinking that not much has changed over the past 20-something years. If anything, hell, you'd think they've gotten even worse. This album is not very good. Brent Smedley is back in the drummer's seat for, I shit thee not, the 4th time. Holy shit, this guy leaves and rejoins this band in a way that puts David Lee Roth to shame. But man, I can see why he keeps getting kicked out. The drums on this thing are basic as fuck. When motherfucking Repose is giving you a run for your money, you really need to reevaluate yourself. And this new lead singer they've got, just... ugh, the dude is really trying too hard. Everything he does sounds forced and unnatural. He has the kind of voice that people make when they make fun of what power metal vocalists sound like. Only this motherfucker isn't kidding. His gravelly affectations sound like your dad trying to do a scary monster voice. His high-pitched soaring vocals just sound like your dad doing his shitty impression of what he thinks a metal vocalist sounds like. This guy sounds like your dad. And unless your dad's Bruce Dickinson, that is not a good thing. And Jon Schaffer, he's just not a very good lyricist. He's usually writing about real-life events from history or grandiose, epic conceptual stuff like biblical fiction or supernatural stuff. Okay, look, if you're trying to convince me this band isn't a crappy Iron Maiden knockoff, shit like this does not help your case. But he draws from these subjects and doesn't do anything with them. There's a pirate metal song on this album called Black Flag, but it's a slow, plodding, meandering snooze fest. Oh my god, Ailstorm, this motherfucker ain't. There's a song called The Relic Part 1, but The Relic Part 2 isn't anywhere on this album. Oh, for fuck's sake, you shitheads are gonna pull a Halo 2 with your concepts. And the closing number is this 9-minute epic about the Battle of Fredericksburg and the Irish Brigade. Now look, there's a good song to be written about that event. It's a very interesting part of Civil War history. Can you imagine what Maiden would have done with a topic like that? But Schaffer's take is basically, they are Irish and they are fighting. Ah! This dude takes potentially explosive, awesome concepts and makes them insanely boring and tedious. It's like the Rumpelstiltskin sewing wheel working in reverse. Holy hell, this album was boring. It was as boring as Repose was, frankly. But, you know, at least with those guys, they have the excuse of it being their first album. These guys are apparently well-worn, seasoned veterans of the genre. For them to turn in an album this skull-numbingly uneventful, I'm sorry, there's just no excuse. Even if this band does have a lineup that changes more than a Trump presidential cabinet, there is no excuse for this shit. Granted, yeah, okay, my view on this band isn't exactly the most well-fleshed out, but I even asked Johnny how he felt about this thing, and we both pretty much agreed on it. It's tepid, it's meandering, it's a disappointment. This album makes the band sound so washed up they could feature in a goddamn Dawn commercial. Could I recommend this to diehard fans even? Not really. Book of Souls is still an absolute banger. Why the fuck would I want to waste time with the Dingo Pictures version of that? Incorruptible gets 2 yees out of 5. Oh man, so many boring albums on this episode. Ugh, can I get some good power metal to help wake me up, for God's sake? Oh, hey, what's this? Lively, vibrant instrumentation, 2 very capable vocalists, including Nora fucking Luhimo from Battle Beast? Oh man, it's good to see you again this year. And song crafting that's not only exciting, but fun and engaging? Woo, I don't know who the hell you are, Pentakill, but I owe you a steak dinner for waking me the hell up from that last snorefest. Who do I have to thank for this lovely little piece of kick-ass? No, stop showing me the album inlays. Like, tell me, who do I have to thank? Wait, what? Huh? Oh. Okay, apparently we have kind of a Metalocalypse situation on our hands here. What we have is a fictional band. but with a very specific twist. See, the band members themselves and everything they sing about is all based in the universe of League of Legends? Yeah, the video game. And I know exactly what you're thinking.
Oh man, crashes in the heavy music, crashes in the video games. This is the perfect fit for him, right?
Here's the thing. I don't actually play League. I've never played League. I've never gotten into MOBAs, period. In fact, when I usually hear that a band has a video game-centric twist, I usually kind of roll my eyes. I mean, there are exceptions to that, plenty of exceptions, but with these video game-centric bands, sometimes the gimmick just gets in the way, or, the band isn't good, so it's literally the only thing holding them up. Look, I know you have fond memories of Sonic Adventure, but those old Crush 40 tracks do not survive the test of time. As much as I love the Game Grumps and Ninja Sex Party, Starbomb is just obnoxious and dumb, but Pentakill really doesn't feel like it falls into that trap. Though to be fair, it has a lot of things that work in its favor in that regard. A lot of the topics they sing about and a lot of the video game-centric stuff they're discussing just happens to sound a lot like what those bands were singing about anyway. I mean, hell, Manowar could totally pass as World of Warcraft cosplayers, and they were never even trying. And with some video game acts, they're so focused on their gimmick that they can't, deliver as a band. Someone just writes a song about Bubsy the Bobcat, and the rest is supposed to work itself out, right? But no, the people behind this music can actually play, and there is some real, actual talent behind this project. I already mentioned Nora Lahimo of Battle Beast, while Scott Kirkland of the Crystal Method and Danny fucking Loner of 9 Inch Nails and A Perfect Circle are also working behind the scenes on this thing, and my god, does it show. The beautiful instrumentation has a crystal clean and well-polished backing production to help every little nuance and intricacy stand out. I don't know if League is this much fun to play, but I'll be damned if it's not fun to listen to. It's not exactly for everyone. Again, not being a League player, a lot of the references and callbacks to places, characters, etc., they fly right over my head. I have no idea what they're talking about, like 50% of the time at least. And it's not the single best power metal album I've heard this year, even if it involves the singer from the best power metal I've heard this year. But man, even though I know shit from fuck about LOL, I still got a hell of a kick out of this, and that deserves a fair bit of credit. Pentakill took something I had no interest in and full-blown made it interesting. Iced Earth took a bunch of topics that should have been interesting to anyone with a pulse and still found a way to bore the piss out of all of us. If anyone is bored by the new Iced Earth, I got a perfect thing that you could throw some money towards, I'm just saying. Grasp of the Undying gets 4... Phantom Dancers? That's a LOL thing, right? Out of 5. Hey guys, just wanted to hop on real quick and let you know we're almost done with the Patreon Blitz catch-ups. We've got one more episode to do, plus a few stragglers that come out later in the month, and after that we'll do a proper catch-up quickie of some of the bigger stuff I missed, and then I gotta start work on GDR3, so hang in there guys. Thanks again.